Hey guys, Marky Mark here. If you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you really like the Donkey Kong Country series. I really like the Donkey Kong Country series. And while I normally tend to do videos of a review-esque nature on this channel, I wanted to do something more personal this time. I wanted to talk about Donkey Kong Country from an angle of introspection. I wanted to really think about what video games mean to me and how they change me as a person. Those of you who have seen my other stuff may not be used to this kind of thing, but hey, you need not worry, because I intend to show you why topics of this nature are far more important than game reviews. After all, what else needs to be said about Donkey Kong Country? Everybody already knows that it's a classic, and most of you watching probably already have your minds made up on whether or not the game is actually good from a technical standpoint. So yeah, there won't be any fancy attempts at an introduction this time, no bells and whistles, no attempts at fancy editing, just me and one of my favorite games ever. If you love video games like I do, then this is the place for you. I also want to thank you all for watching my stuff. It's really exciting to see new supporters of this channel come in every week. It's funny, I've actually been posting content for over 2 years now. And this whole time I feel like I've been so focused on keeping my nose to the grindstone, yet I never really take the time to express appreciation for the support I've received. So yeah, thank you. Seriously. And Donkey Kong Country reminds me of something else I feel I should admit to you guys. So here it goes. Before Donkey Kong Country, I wasn't exactly the most adventurous gamer on the block. I mainly played the games I grew up with, that being the classics on N64 like Legend of Zelda, Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, and Tooie, and you know, every now and then I dabble with more modern titles, but I almost never really journeyed outside my particular grouping of titles. I just never had the passion to challenge myself as a gamer. I was always content to just get that nostalgia fix from my childhood classics and nothing else. But it was when I got a chance to try Donkey Kong Country on Nintendo Switch Online that things started to change for me. I had assumed going into it that Donkey Kong Country was gonna be a cakewalk of a game. It just didn't come off to me like it'd be a challenging title at all. But of course my sheltered mind would think that about a game I had never tried, and boy, was I in for a reckoning. Because I found Donkey Kong Country to be absolutely brutal upon my first run through. Even as far as the very first level, I was having a hard time adjusting to this style. I could barely handle it when Kremlings would do that little jumping motion toward me, as it just came off so awkward and difficult to avoid for some reason. I couldn't handle the physics, I was taking the game at a snail's pace, and this is coming from somebody who is also an avid Sonic the Hedgehog player. Minecart Carnage was the bane of my existence at the time. I just did not understand how anybody could handle a level like this. It just boggled my mind, boggled it down into paste. I may as well have had several aneurysms trying to play this shit, because I died so many times, dude, you have no idea. Donkey Kong Country was like culture shock to me right out the gate, because I simply had never in my life been exposed to a game of this nature. And I reacted as any intelligent human being would after being faced with a situation they are not at all used to. I blamed the video game for being too old. I blamed it for having ancient, obsolete game design. I blamed it for being too cheap and unforgiving. And not only that, I even went as far as to make a video on the game where I half praised it for being awesome, but on the other half, vented my frustrations on all the quote-unquote jank, as I called it, in-game. I was so mad at how hard this title was to me that I would literally go online and search for posts from other people that also complain about how hard the game is just to make myself feel better. I wanted to convince myself I wasn't crazy. It's not my fault this game is so frustrating, it's the game's fault for being too old. But then at the same time, it's like, why am I getting so worked up over this game in particular? Usually if a game was too challenging for me, I'd just give up and put it down. But why with Donkey Kong Country in specific did I keep playing? If I hated it so much, then why did I make a whole ass video about it? Something inside me, some small inkling of my sheltered mind knew I was playing something truly special. Because I kept playing it. Despite all the deaths, all the anger, all the shouting and swearing, I kept going. I don't know what came over me, because to be honest with you, up to that point, I had never been one to keep going on something whenever the going got tough. I kept forging ahead, and eventually, I beat it. And I was so happy, you have no idea. I know it sounds cheesy, but I felt like I had conquered this massive obstacle by sticking it out and beating the last boss, King K. Rool. And King K. Rool was no slouch either, because he kicked my ass. All in all, I stuck out the game to the very end, and in the craziness of it all, I learned a very important lesson. Sometimes when a game really challenges you, and as a result you're not getting that immediate gratification that you sometimes expect out of a game, you don't just take your ball and go home. You tough it out, you see it through to the very end, because no matter how many times you die or want to throw your controller at the TV, that pure satisfaction that you experience once you've beaten it, after everything you went through, truthfully, that is one of, if not the most fulfilling experiences of your life. Because now I've come out the other side a way better DKC player. I can blow through the whole thing in just over an hour, and I know where so many of the secrets are, I can find them all in a cinch. I see the bigger picture now, and I understand the lesson to be learned here that can be applied not only to games, but to real life.
I understand now! I understand now!
Donkey Kong Country taught me that when you have something you really care about, whether it be a project, or a career move, or a YouTube channel in my case, you give it everything you have, to the very end, and you don't give up on it. There will be times where that thing that you love won't always love you back. It will send many ups and downs your way, and in those down times, you will be tempted to abandon it. But by sticking it out, you will experience a level of growth that not many people get a chance to experience. You will ascend as a human being and be better as a result. Thank you to Donkey Kong Country for teaching me this lesson. Now I can carry that knowledge forward into other games, like the original Legend of Zelda for the NES, a title that arguably requires even more persistence from the player to make it through it. Stay tuned for next week's video when I tackle this beast head on. Oh boy. Thank you again for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the subscribe button so we can tackle more fun games together. And I implore each and every one of you that if you have a challenge or obstacle in your life that you're facing at the moment that's really getting you down, don't give up. Never give up. Finish what you started, because no matter what happens, you will see tremendous growth from the whole process. And that, my friend, is priceless.